It's amazing that people are so addicted to the phone, they can't give God 1 hour. Even in church, they're on the phone. I've talked about this before when I used to date. I would get so into the woman that if I wanted to break up with her, I would have to find another woman so I could break up with this woman, because if I didn't, I felt so empty and lost, and this seemed like I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, because I had identified with that person so much. I realized this week something else about that. You know how you go to seminars and conferences and things to learn from other people, or you may be in training by another person? I realized that it's easy too to get caught up and lose yourself like that too. You won't just learn from the person, but you turn over your whole self to the person. And so you stop learning. It's so easy. And you find yourself relying on that person rather than just having that space there and just learn from that person, but don't lose yourself. It is really easy to give up ourselves to someone else, to everybody else but God. Yes. And I notice that people are doing that a lot, giving over themselves to others, but not to God.
Yes.
And that's what happened in those kind of relationships as well.
Right. So when you face that, it makes you rely more on God.
But it doesn't necessarily make you rely on God, because at the time I wasn't aware enough or had the understanding of what was going on with me. Yeah. When I would break up.
Yeah.
I didn't rely on God. It didn't make me rely on God. It forced me to find someone else to replace that person.
Yeah.
I think what a lot of people don't realize is that we have the Holy Spirit inside of us to teach us. We really do have that. He's there to teach us all things, to perfect our lives, to teach us all things. So when you're learning from a human being, you're supposed to have a little space there and not even try to hold on to what they're teaching you. Let it go in one ear and out the other one. But if you trust the Holy Spirit, the information is there when you need it. But a lot of people, they just get into the person or people, whomever is teaching them, and they just lose themselves. They don't move forward. And a lot of times people don't, a lot of teachers don't believe you can do it anyway, and they won't tell you that, but you've spent your whole life learning from someone who didn't even believe in you. God gave us a provider. I listen to people and I learn from people, but the Holy Spirit is my teacher all the way. That's how I learned to run a business or run an organization or run my life. He's teaching me. He's there, but a lot of people aren't aware of that, so he's not teaching. And as soon as something goes wrong, I had a guy this week, something went wrong at work, and he just tripped out. Instead of learning from it, calming down and learning. It's in us to know everything. Everything we need to know, God has provided. He really has. Everything you need to know, he's given to you to know already. That doesn't mean we don't come together and learn from one another, but don't make that person your sole provider, your God. That makes sense? Because anything that replaces the true God inside of you is going to mess you up. You're not going to be happy. You're not going to move forward in life. And all of us have the ability to do something, You learn along the way, but don't lose your ability to do what you know to do. I do nothing outwardly. I've never been trained to run a business. I haven't gone to college or to the seminars and all that kind of stuff. And it's weird how before I started Bond, I had a janitorial service for 7 years and had 7 full-time employees, non-black.
You had.
What? All Hispanics. No, I'm just kidding. You got boring. That was supposed to be funny. But the point is, I was learning as I was going, as I was moving forward. I learned as I needed to know. Like, for example, you want to start a business, you don't have to go and learn a 5-year plan about a business. You're not even promised 5 years. You learn what is the first step that I take. You take that first step, then you'll see the second step and the third step and the fourth step. And you'll just be moving forward. And that doesn't mean you don't learn from others, but Don't lose your steps. Stay in your place. But people are so weak and vulnerable today. It is so easy for them to turn their lives over to someone. It's mind-blowing. And I got some perfect examples of that. That's not what I had planned to talk about, but since you mentioned that, I have perfect examples of that. One quick example, before homosexuals came around and started this crap about getting married, we had what we call husband and wife. Remember that? We used to have that. Remember? This is my husband. This is my wife. Now people are saying, this is my partner. They've allowed themselves to be taken over by someone else's ideas. And those ideas are wrong. They are absolutely wrong. But you have preachers. I've had preachers on my radio show say, are you married? I ask, are you married? Yeah, I have a partner. I'm like, oh, are you married to a man or something? I know. Oh, you're saying partner. You have a wife. Why do we have to give up ourselves and give up what is right because some other crazy person came along with another idea? It is so crazy. Partners mean gay. They came up with that idea because they didn't want to be reminded of husband and wife, because they don't want to be reminded that it's wrong to call yourself getting married. So they're shutting that word down, and the children of God are going right along with it. Isn't that amazing? Yeah, that's really amazing, Jesse. Yes. That's just one small example. I have truckloads of them. I was talking to my brother this morning, one of my brothers on the phone. My father's in a convalescent hospital. He has Alzheimer's, which used to be called senile. Yeah, but now it's Alzheimer's. Does Alzheimer's sound better than senile? Yeah. I know. And so my brother and I was talking, and my dad is like really mean now. And he's like beating up his wife. And he's not, when he was growing up, he wasn't, before this happened, he wasn't an angry, violent kind of a guy. And now, can't nobody live with him, so they put him in a convalescent home, gave him a roommate, and he beat up the roommate. And so they had to take the roommate out. I'm like, what is wrong with him? And I realized what it is. My dad was mean all before he went senile. He was already mean, but he controlled that meanness. He didn't really let you see it for the most part. And now his mind is going, there's nothing there a filter is not there to stop it. So it's just coming out now. You're seeing the real person. I'm going to see him on Thanksgiving Day. I can't wait to see him. I'm going to beat him up myself. I'm going to show him violence. His ex-wife was telling me, oh, he tried to, what she said? Beat me down. I'm like, wow. But he's always been mean. It's just now coming out. And that's how things are. People control the stuff that's there. You got to let that stuff go, because at some point it has to come out. Let it go now while you know what's going on. Oh, the reason I brought that up about my father is because you mentioned no faith. You have no faith in God. And most people don't have faith in God. So I was talking to my brother this morning about that. He was like, well, how come my dad is sick? Why is he sick? He believed in God. How come I have an aunt who was sick too, an elderly aunt who was sick as well. So he was saying, why is this happening? And I said, well, it shouldn't be happening. We're not supposed to get sick. We're not even supposed to die. He was like, no, that's not true. People dying all the time. And I said, well, didn't God take the sting out of death? Christ took the sting out of death. He conquered death so that we wouldn't have to worry about it. And my brother said, yeah, that's right. I said, didn't he heal us from sickness and disease? He conquered that too. Yeah, but everybody's doing it. I said, just because everybody's doing it doesn't mean it should be done. It's the right thing. I said, everybody getting fat too. Should we all get fat? And he's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I said, just because everybody is doing it, that doesn't mean it's right or that we should be doing it. He said, but I've not seen anyone that haven't died. You know, everybody died. I don't know anyone who hasn't died. He asked me, do you know anyone who hasn't died? I said, I think in the Bible, God took some guy up with his body.
Yeah.
Who was that?
Enoch.
Yeah, he didn't die, right?
Walk with God, God took.
Yeah. And so he was like, that's not enough.
Jesus.
He need more example. He's like, that's not enough. I need to see it before I can believe it. I said, so you're one of those guys who doubt. You got to see it before you can believe it, and that's not faith. You know, faith is seeing it. It's believing without having to see it. And, you know, how do you get faith without having to see it? How do you live by faith before you see it happen? And I think that's a struggle for a lot of us, too. They say, you know, oh, I'm living by faith, but they're really not. And then the first time you throw something like that at them, no, I need to see it first. Most people are not living by faith, and that's why you would put your life into the hands of someone else, because you don't have that faith in God. You don't have that faith, and that's what the problem is. That's why a lot of people go to church, and they hear the preacher talking, you know, reading the scriptures and quoting the scriptures, and then the people pick the scriptures up too, and then they'll go out quoting the scriptures. The Lord said, don't do this, acting like they're Christians, because they don't have even the faith to do it on their own. They're just learning from someone else and repeating it. And that's not a way to live. That's not a good life at all. You don't really have life if that's how you're living. You want real life. You want that life that comes from within. You want the real deal, and we all have it inside of us to do it.